What's up, everybody? You're listening to Gone Fishkin here on idobi Radio with your host, Fish. Instagram.com/Mike Fishkin. Instagram.com/the pug named Biggie if you want to see my dog. I am very excited for today's show for a plethora of different reasons. Reason number one, I get to do my show live with friends again. Reason number two, I get to call this guy a friend. He is a multi-platinum songwriter, producer, singer-songwriter, entrepreneur, mentor. I assume you skateboard too. I don't know why.
Oh, dude, my knees are not skating much these days. But yeah, I mean, I like to carve. I'm like a downhill kind of carver.
Yeah.
Like an old school dude. Yeah.
He posts more shirtless pics, making me feel more like a piece of shit than any model on my feed. Give it up for John Feldmann.
Here we are. Thanks, Fish.
Oh,
Thanks
of course.
for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much for coming onto the show for the first time in person.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. This is amazing. What a cool venue, the whole thing.
Hell yeah.
Stage is so rad.
Thank you. Thank you. Very excited to get some Feldy bands and maybe your own band on that stage one day.
How long have I known you now?
The first time I remember meeting and talking to you was at Pavement set at Ventura Warped Tour in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a minute.
Yeah. So about 6 years now.
You've been to my Christmas party. You've DJ'd my Christmas party.
Yep. I've DJ'd your Christmas party.
We have the best Christmas parties of all time, dude.
So good.
Snow, sledding, coffee, vegan burgers. So good. Strippers. Yeah, we got everything.
Well, I didn't say late enough for the strippers or I would have stayed a little bit longer last time.
It's just me getting naked. That's it.
That's the best kind of stripper we could ask for. But I'll just never forget DJing your Christmas party. And beforehand, while you guys are setting up and everything, you had the fake snow set up. And I'm like, okay, I have to give myself a little bit of give. So I have to run a little bit and then go for it. Completely flipped, just face planted at the bottom of it. It was
well. Thanks for not suing me. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. I'm still ripping off your song, so don't worry. People
go so fast down that thing. The little kids, every year I tell my wife, I'm like, dude, like I mean, knock on wood, like it's all been fine. But yeah, it goes off every year, that Christmas party.
It's so awesome and such a staple in the community too, because like you'll have some artists that you're not even working with just yet. You're just talking to them, but then you'll turn around, you'll see Gwen Stefani.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, look, I think Goldfinger really started taking off in like 95, 96 and we've done a lot of touring, man. And I have a lot of friends from different iterations of my life. And it's cool to be able to have them. I mean, I love having all these people get together from different walks of the music community and get to say hi.
Yeah.
It's so rad.
It's awesome to see. And that was a perfect segue into talking about Goldfinger because you guys just dropped this year 9 Lives, which is an incredible record. And not only is it an incredible record, what a lineup of features you have on it. You would think it was a tribute record.
I know, dude. Yeah, having Spencer from Ice Nine Kills was that was probably the easiest one because he's been such a massive Goldfinger fan. He's got the date of the Real Big Fish Goldfinger show tattooed on his neck.
Oh, no way.
Changed his life. That he's like, I'm going to do music because he saw this show in Connecticut and just changed everything, you know? And so he's been a friend for a minute. And what a great, dude, his band is blowing up. It's crazy to watch kind of as an observer just to see opening for Metallica. It's the raddest thing. He's such a great singer. He's got like this hybrid of like Gerard meets like Brendan Urie kind of voice. And it's just like what he does, no one's really doing that theatrical kind of horror metal. Yeah. It's just so rad with all these different time changes in the songs. And Derelict came out great and he came and showed up for the video and he's in the video for it. It's so rad. And like we did a bunch, before Tom DeLonge got back in Blink, we had written a ton of songs, just Mark, me, and Travis. And so we had all these songs and Travis just hit me up one day. He said, dude, you got to use these songs. They're too good not to use. And so Lie in Bed and Freaking Out a Bit, like we had kind of in the hopper. And Mark I left his voice. He said, you're fine to use my voice. He was so gracious about it. We just used it. And I just kind of sang all the other parts that who knew who was going to sing them. But it's like, and Freaking Out a Bit's probably top 5 Goldfinger songs of all time for me.
Really?
That song is so fun to play. And it's just such it just moves. The whole thing just moves. It's not like a lot of songs I write, like the verses will be down, the chorus will kick in and it'll have all these kind of dynamic moments, especially in ska music. But Freaking Out a Bit is just like, once it starts, it just fucking goes. And I love playing it. It's always got a circle pit. It's just rad. And Yeah, who else is on it? Yeah, Zach from Fiddler.
El Jefe's on it.
El Jefe's on it, dude. I mean, we played a ton of Warped Tours with NoFX, and Fat Mike's, a friend.
Yeah.
I mean, I call him a friend, who knows what he calls me, but, he's a fucking legend, dude. It's like when we started, I was still selling shoes, right? Like I was on the promenade here in Santa Monica, literally selling shoes. And it's like I would stack Pennywise and Bad Religion records or CDs back to back, and if you don't know what a CD is, you can fuck off. I mean, it's like, CDs were the best because they would just go and no one in the shop could tell the difference between Pennywise and Bad Religion. So it would just seem like one really long record. But my car just had all these bumper stickers of, NoFX and Bad Religion and all those epic 90s pop punk bands, you know? And it's like, so when I became friends with them, it was just for me, and being able to play NoFX's last show and we all got on stage together was just a good full circle moment for me. And El Jefe's toured with us. We play trumpet, play some guitar. We play Linoleum every night as a tribute to kind of like one of my favorite bands of all time. And El Jefe was like, I'll totally come play on what song's in The Punisher. Yeah, he played Ripped a Solo, just came in. He never heard the song, just fucking ripped it. It was so fun.
That's crazy. Yeah, I saw you in the 40 Years of Fucking Up documentary.
Yeah.
I think you had a speaking part too at some point. They interviewed you for a second too.
Yeah. What an epic movie that I haven't seen yet.
It was so good.
Yeah, I'm sure it's epic. But I was on tour when they showcased the movie here.
Yep.
So I couldn't see it then, and I've been doing these weekend shows, so I haven't been able to see the movie yet. But I can't wait.
And he's not going to put it on streaming.
I know.
Yeah,
I got to go to a theater.
Yeah. You have to go to a theater to see a movie you're in.
I don't even have a DVD player, so even if you put it out on DVD, I wouldn't know how to watch it.
An Xbox 360, maybe.
That's right.
Yeah. That's how I still watch DVDs if I have one.
Yeah, exactly. But I heard it's rad.
Yeah, it's really good. So now you've been putting music out now for over 3 decades. So talk about what keeps you inspired to keep putting out Goldfinger records to make them sound like obviously sonically it doesn't sound like it, but excitement wise, it sounds like your first record still every time you guys put out a record.
Yeah. I mean, part of that is the fear of having to go back to selling shoes, which is like, I mean, God willing, I probably won't be selling shoes ever again. But it's like, I mean, having to work retail for those, 5 to 8 years when I first moved to Los Angeles was like, there's something very endearing about paying your own bills and like being self-supporting and all that. But I mean, I got signed. Patrick McDowell signed my band because he came in the shoe store and I stuck my demo cassette in his shoebox, and he signed me to this record deal. So if I wasn't doing that, I wouldn't have ended up doing what I do today, 32 years later. So, I mean, for me, it's like, I love playing live shows. I mean, we did 385 shows in 96. We hold the Guinness World Record for most shows played in a touring band. And so it's like, it's like a badge of honor that I did the work.
Yeah.
Like, you've probably done 10,000 hours in interviews, and it's like, and I believe in that. I believe in like putting the time in and then you get the results, right? Yeah. And it's like, I've done the touring. And so I know now what the audience responds to. I know what kind of music goes off live. I know what songs go off live, from starting with Here in Your Bedroom all the way to Freaking Out a Bit. It's like, I know what I want to do now more than I've ever, in the beginning, it was kind of like, we'd only played maybe, I don't even know, 50 shows before the first album. So I didn't have a ton of experience with what an audience wants to hear. And we are, for all intents and purposes, we're a ska punk band. So we write ska songs and we write punk songs. And there's like with College, like in The Punisher, like we have like banjo in The Punisher, which is like, we're always experimenting, but it's like ultimately what we do is either punk rock or it's ska, and that's kind of it. So, and I love, dude, I grew up, my first concert was the English Beat, in the 80s, which was the greatest one of the greatest ska bands of all time. And, and I saw Social Distortion the same week as I saw English Beat. So, those two bands influenced me more than probably anybody in my life. And so I feel like this record encapsulates both my influences and kind of like what I'm experiencing in life as a 58-year-old man. It's like, I'm not going to try and write about shit any longer that I'm not experiencing. Yeah.
For sure. And now in the English Beat, was Stoner in the band at the time?
No, it was, well, actually, I don't know. It would have been 82, 83. So, it was Dave Wakeling and Rankin Rogers kind of who who I kind of like, focused on, because Rankin Roger was just all over the stage doing his, raps and his kind of like pick it up, all that kind of stuff. And Wakeling was the main songwriter, and he just was such a great singer.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, it was rad.
Hell yeah, because I think they just re-put out a couple songs on DSPs recently. I saw Tosh posting about,
cool.
Yo, check out my dad's music.
So rad.
So rad. And now Goldfinger is such an interesting band to me because it never really, in my opinion, from an outsider perspective, obviously you guys were huge on Warped Tour, you guys had huge songs and everything, but I feel like the Tony Hawk soundtrack obviously was a big part of your come up. And then I feel like the bands that you guys brought on tour in a way kind of gave you guys a resurgence, like, hey, Goldfinger's the reason we do this.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit, and just shifting so much in the industry the last few years, because went from CDs to illegal downloading to legal streaming to like, oh, maybe you'll print out a couple vinyls as a novelty item.
Yeah, look, I try and focus on what I can control, which is my attitude and my actions. I can control those things, right? And I can't control like the outside circumstances of the technological world. It's like I can really control my attitude about it. If I got a good attitude, everything works out. If I'm like, fuck this, it's never going to work out, and people are stealing music, whatever. If I focus on that, it doesn't make my life easier. What makes my life easier is focusing on what I'm good at, which is producing records, writing songs, and touring. And so I've always focused on that. And it's like, you can't, I guess you can do a hologram of a dead musician and have that, but I don't think people are really that interested. I think it's about the live show and feeling the energy of the artists, whatever artists that have influenced you or you've grown up on, and you want to be, entertained. It's like, I feel like we're an entertaining band, but we've had so many different incarnations of what our band is. In the beginning, it was like my shoe store buddy, Simon Williams, was our bass player, and we wrote a lot of the original songs together, but he didn't really want to tour, kind of after Hang-Ups, he didn't want to tour. So we got Kelly Lemieux, who was in an old band of mine, and that was cool. And Darren, our drummer, our original drummer, we had some challenges with him. He flipped, I don't know if you saw that clip of him flipping Conan O'Brien over his head. Conan O'Brien's 6'7", our drummer was 6'2".
That's impressive.
Fucking lifted him up and flipped him, and he almost like broke his neck on the monitor. It was crazy. I'll show the clip afterwards. And it's like, we got banned from all national television, after we played Conan. We couldn't play Letterman, couldn't do Saturday Night Live. We were just banned from all of it. So it's kind of like, and we got in, he was a great drummer, and I love the guy, but it wasn't really meant to be on a business sense. So it's like when you ask about the entrepreneurship, it's kind of like, how do I want to continue as a band without having such a fucking loose cannon? And it's like, it just didn't make sense any longer. So, Nick Rose has been our drummer for at least a decade. He's a ripper. Travis Barker, trained him when he was a kid, taught him lessons when he was a little kid. So it's like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's the closest thing I can. It's like Travis has his own band. I played shows with Travis, he's played with Goldfinger, but he's got his own band he's got to deal with, but I don't know. The way I've watched the music business kind of progress, it's like I watch my kids on Spotify or Apple Music, and they just love the story. Like, my daughter Mila loves the story of, Gracie Abrams' best friend Aubrey is like now a musician, and she's like following, she's discovering artists because of artists. Yeah. And she loves the story of Olivia Rodrigo's boyfriend dating Sabrina Carpenter, and she loves the story of it and loves to hear about all the people that Taylor Swift has dated and what those songs mean. That's the thing about music. It's got to mean something personal. And if it means something personal to the artist, and if I can write a song that makes me cry, I know I can make a song that makes the world cry. And I have to look at it like, what is my own personal experience and what do I put into music, to make me feel something. And so when it comes to Spotify and, going from when I was a kid, it was 8-track to vinyl to CDs to whatever. But the end, music is what matters. It's the music.
Exactly.
And people record music very differently than they did. I made my first record on 2-inch tape, which I had to learn how to cut the tape and align the tape machine and clean it and the whole thing. And now it's like you got Pro Tools and a laptop. It's just a different experience. But the songs are what matters though, man.
Yeah.
I try and focus on that.
100%. And I think something that like matters a lot on the same level of the songs are musicians supporting each other, because the way I discovered Goldfinger probably for the first time was like seeing a Good Charlotte music video and freezing it on Benji's guitar and paying attention to every single sticker he had. It's how I found like No Effects, Pennywise, all those bands.
Yeah, they were so kind to me, you know, in the beginning of their career. I mean, I have a video actually. We played the 930 Club, and Benji's got a backpack because he was just came out of school, went right to the 930 Club to see our show. You know, before Good Charlotte even existed, he did a stage dive. It's like on video of Benji doing a stage dive at a Goldfinger concert, and they took us on tour when they blew up, you know.
So sick.
And they had me co-write some songs, and they were really kind to me. But I try and do that, like with The Used, with Story of the Year, with Mest, Show Off, all these bands that I work with back in the olden days, Foxy Shazam. Like we would take these bands out, and it was like I felt like we were giving the audience, a really good bang for their buck, because The Used opening for Goldfinger, like you wouldn't really imagine that. I mean, we had My Chemical Romance. You know, we played this epic show in Orange County, and I had them open for us. It's like before they blew up. And to be able to have an audience see a bunch of different styles of music rather than just, you know, ska punk, which I mean is fine. I mean, a lot of shows we've been doing lately have been with, you know, the hippos aren't really playing shows anymore, but but like with Suicide Machines, and I don't know, we're playing a show with the Vandals at the Hollywood Palladium in August on the 22nd, which is going to be rad. Suicide Machines, Vandals, and us. It's going to be sick. But back then it was like I tried to really take artists that I found early and kind of put them in front of an audience that I knew wouldn't love them. I remember we played Albuquerque, and Bert got on stage and some dude yelled out the fucking F slur. It's like, fuck you. And I just got on stage. I'm like, who said that? And I was like, I went in the audience and started punching the guy. It was kind of awful, but at least Bert learned how to fucking stand his ground and not leave the stage, even though they were getting heckled.
Yeah.
And I feel like that really built his character a lot in the early days of The Used. And they obviously went on to they started Taste of Chaos, and they became, I mean, what I would consider the beginning of Screamo. I mean, bands existed. I mean, you know, obviously there were a bunch of bands like AFI or, the Refused that kind of like blended styles, like hardcore styles with like a bunch of other weird sounds, but it's like no one sang like Bert.
Yeah.
Bert's voice was like this clear Michael Jackson, like melodic pop chorus that didn't exist in that style of music before Bert. And I think he led the way. I mean, he really discovered My Chemical Romance. Yeah. I mean, he really did so much for that scene. And it was cool for us to watch that thing explode. And we just kind of stayed our ground and did our pop punk thing throughout all of it.
Yeah. I would arguably say there hasn't been anyone with a voice like Bert since Bert, too. I think he has a very unique voice.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, that's what I look for when I find new bands, is like what does the singer have that other artists don't have? Like, does he sound unique and different? And are his influences, I mean, maybe, you know, he comes from the hardcore world, but Queen is his favorite. Maybe it's like, that's what I look for. Someone that's got like a unique kind of perspective.
Now, did you beat up that guy before or after you threw pots and pans at Bert in the studio?
Calling me out, bro. Calling me out. You know, Bert requested it.
We all saw the video.
He subconsciously requested it. He's like, he didn't request it, but it was like, how do we get Bert to fucking get to the core of his emotion? And we made that video, and I was like, I want to be painted as the bad guy here. So like, we really went hard, like yelling at Quinn when he was locked in the closet, and like the whole thing. But I made that record in a room smaller than this. I made the Used first album, and I just, you know, I literally put a 57, like a microphone in the bathroom around the corner, and that was our room sound for the drums. It was like, we made it so makeshift, but thank God we did, because it captures that, like, it's so raw.
Yeah.
I listened to that record maybe a month ago, and I was like, man. But then towards the end of the record, we had a budget at Warner Brothers, and so we went to London, and they wrote Blue and Yellow and On My Own there in London, and we were able to have the guy that did all of Radiohead's orchestration, did the orchestration on a lot of, Greener with the Scenery and On My Own. He did all of it, and it was just really, really cool to watch it. You know, this band who'd played maybe 2 shows, take them on tour, and then go to London and do all this. There's nothing better than a guy, for me, to be able to help a band come from nothing and all of a sudden, have a record deal and a great manager and go on tour at Ozfest and all the shit they did in the beginning.
So crazy. We're going to talk more about the production side in just a little bit, but I have a couple more questions about Goldfinger before we cut to a quick commercial break. So now, obviously you said there's been a bunch of iterations of Goldfinger throughout the years. Obviously you've sold millions of records, producing other people and everything like we've been talking about. How important was it for you to put together a super group of Goldfinger of artists? You've worked with every single one of them that have been in the band for their own project.
Yeah.
And then you bring them into your own project.
Yeah. When Phil left Story of the Year, he was probably my first call because we were so close, and Sidewalks is probably top 3 best songs on that Page Avenue record for me. It really moves me, that song. And he wrote that song, and it's just, he was my first call when he left the band. And so, he joined, and Mike had been a friend for years, Herrera, from MXPX. And he's just, I remember when he had Good Charlotte open for him at the Palace, which is now, I forget the name of what it is now on Vine, but it's like...
Oh, the Avalon.
The Avalon, yeah. But it was the Palace back then, and it was like they fucking, the Good Charlotte guys worshipped MXPX. And I had known him a little bit from like playing festivals in 96 onward, but I didn't really know Mike really well till maybe 15, 20 years ago, where we just became friends. And, I needed a bass player. Our bass player joined Buck Cherry, at the time. And I'm like, all right, bro, you can do what makes you happy. He was always a fucking metal kid anyway. Yeah. And so I called Mike, and he filled in for a couple shows, and it was like the energy was so good. I don't know a nicer guy in the music business than Mike Herrera.
The best.
He is the fucking best, dude.
Yeah.
And I've been so like humbled and grateful that I've got, because bass playing is hard. You've got to be so like, it's got to be perfect. You know what I mean? You're not playing, like I can fuck up guitar all the time because it's distorted and you're kind of like just doing a bar chord all over the place in our music. But he's like a ripping bass player.
Yeah.
And he jumps around. He broke his toe, and we played Jersey 2 years ago, broke his toe on stage, fell off the stage into the cage. Because he goes crazy.
Yeah.
And it's really cool for me to be able to look over and see Mike. And then, Charlie's been our guitar player since 94. He's been in and out of the band, but he's been in the band now for God, at least 7 years. And he's like, for me, it's like having someone that I can anchor to where we started from, where we came from in 94 to where we are today. And it's great having Charlie in the band, and we've had Cyrus from Newfound Glory. He's played a bunch of shows, but they tour so much. He just can't be as consistent as Nick is, Nick's great. He's in a band Girlfriends, but Nick is such a solid drummer. And I'm probably the worst musician in the band, to be honest, which is fine by me. And I'm definitely no Brendan Urie as a vocalist, but it's like what we do is I only judge the show by how the crowd reacts. Everyone else in the band judges how they played. Oh, I didn't play very well. It was a shitty show. I'm like, but the crowd was going fucking ballistic.
Yeah.
Like if I see a war zone out there at a festival, if there's 30,000 people and all of them have their hands up and there's a huge circle pit, I'm like, we did our job. We fucking did our job.
There's just like no better feeling than seeing a Goldfinger show at a festival. Like, I think it was called Back to the Beach back in the day.
Yeah.
And was that the first time Simon played with you guys in a while?
That was the first time he's played with us since he left the band in 2000.
I knew there was something significant.
Yeah.
I was at that show.
Yeah.
And just like seeing the crowd react and everything and seeing that circle pit and just like you being the king of the beach at that point, it's just so sick to see. And you guys aren't even the headliner at that point, and putting on a headline performance each and every time.
I know. We played Nightclub. It's the special song at the end, and we had Tony from No Doubt and Aaron from Real Big Fish and all these legendary kind of people in our scene, the ska punk scene, come out and play a special song to close our set. It was so rad. And Travis and I just had this idea to do a festival. I guess it must have been 2021, and we did it 22 and 23, I think. No, maybe early. Maybe it was 19 and 20. We did it.
Maybe. Yes, it was 19.
18 or 19. Yeah, because it was before the pandemic, and it was such a cool festival. But we haven't been able to figure it. Travis is a little busy these days.
Wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. And speaking of special songs, I thought it was really special on your last record. You guys re-recorded Superman, Here in Your Bedroom, 99 Red Balloons.
Yeah.
And you put features of artists you were working with on there too, which is so cool. So talk about the thought process behind that and how important it was for you to put those songs out again like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, Biffy Clyro has been one of my favorite bands for such a long time. And I mean, they're so big in the UK. And I've seen them headline Reading and Leeds. And I've seen them, I mean, playing, you know, everyone's there, 70,000 people are there to see them. And it's just like to be able to work with Simon and write music with him was such an honor. I wrote the song Animal, which was like, I think 2 albums ago. And I just hit him up because he told me, like, there's a song we have called Spokesman. And after the bridge, we ended with this little phrase, just goes, it was from YYZ, from Rush. It was like a little tip of the hat to like any super muso fan.
Yeah.
And no one has ever mentioned that except for Simon. He goes, that YYZ moment in Spokesman, he goes, dude, I heard it. And he's like, I knew I'm going to love this band. And so he was a fan of us. So when I decided to re-record the shit, because the re-record period was over, I just, I hit him up and I just said, man, you want to be on Superman? He just recorded his shit in Scotland, sent it to me, and we put it out. It's so rad. And I was making, I think we had just recorded Bite Me with Avril, and she was just in the studio, and I'm like, I'm re-recording some of our songs. You want to sing on here in your bedroom? And she's like, of course. And just sang on it. It sounds awesome. She's one of the greatest, like, iconic singers of all time.
Yeah.
And to have her on a Goldfinger song is an honor.
Avril is truly the best. And I remember when that record was rolling out and everything, it was just such a fun time for music.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot of shit happening in our world. Like that pop punk movement was really going on, and it was cool. It was fun to witness like all these. I mean, it's like every 20 years, everything goes cyclical, and to watch kind of Blink have this moment again, and bands like The Paradox, and watch MGK have this huge moment. It was really fun to watch.
Hell yeah.
I remember going out to the barn in Riverside. I was there to see the Skeletones, who played on our first album, and I was just there to support them. And they had Real Big Fish open, and I'm like, this was in probably 95, and I'm like, bro, they played Sell Out at the end of their set. I'm like, this is a fucking hit. And I signed him to Mojo Records, and that was the first time like I jumped outside of being an artist or like a performer, and I went to like put the other hat on and said, we have to sign this band to Jay Rifkin, and we did, and it worked out great.
That's crazy. So I'll jump into the A&Ring and the label side of things to talk about it, because this is a side of you that I've always admired the more I found out about it. And it's really inspired me to do more than just be a radio show host, because I thought you had to pick your lane as a quote unquote talent. You're a talent. I'm a quote unquote talent. And then just stick with it. But there's so many different avenues in the music industry that people don't really understand or know about. Obviously, everyone knows you have a great ear for things. Now, starting A&Ring, you've signed some insane bands. You've signed Story of the Year. You've signed Beartooth, The Used. Those are 3 off the top of my head. I think signed Make Out back in the day, probably. Or
Make Out, for sure. Show Off, Mest.
Mest.
Foxy Shazam.
How could we forget Mest?
Yeah, I mean Foxy Shazam, who probably a lot of people don't really. No, they just did the Peacemaker soundtrack.
Oh,
they have
sick.
the song "Oh Lord and Out," which I produced with them, and I mean Eric, the singer, is I don't even know if there's a better front man. I just don't know. He's just one of those guys. I don't know if you've ever seen Foxy Shazam, but
I have.
Yeah, he'll light a whole pack of cigarettes and eat them. He's just so wild on stage and walks on his. He's so good live, and but yeah, I've had. I mean, it all stemmed from me really trying to just be of service to the younger musician who, I guess I kind of wish there was someone in my life that would have kind of took me under their wing. Mm-hmm. I mean, the interesting thing to me is like I signed a terrible production deal because I was selling shoes and I didn't want to work for $5 an hour anymore. And they offered me this, publishing deal and this production deal. And I signed it so I wouldn't have to sell shoes. But in hindsight, everything worked out. But holy shit, man, Rick Rubin came along before we made our first record and said, I want to produce your fucking band. And the guy that I signed the production deal wouldn't allow it to happen.
Really?
And it was like Rick Rubin they could have figured out some way to make it work, but they wouldn't, because he wouldn't let us go out of he wouldn't like do a co-venture with Rick. And it's like, I wish I had someone in my court that I feel like I've been in a lot of these artists. I've been there fighting the fight for them, and when I found Show Off, like all I really wanted to do was like their demo sounded terrible, and I mean, Show Off never became Green Day, but it's like they were the first band that I was able to really cut my teeth as far as a producer and learn what how to work an EQ and what a compressor is and what kind of microphones sound good on vocals and guitars, and really learn how to experiment in the studio. And I became an engineer making their record. And thank God I did that. And I took them on tour and I got them a manager and a lawyer. I did all that shit, to kind of help. All I wanted to do was help, in the beginning. And it was like, I did the same thing for Mest. I got them a deal, and that's how I got my first A&R gig, was with Guy Osiri, who managed Madonna, and, it was Madonna's label. And we signed Show Off and Mest to them. And then it was like, they never blew up. We had a gold record in Japan with Mest. Yeah. And then I found Story of the Year, and it was like, that album went platinum, and everything kind of changed for me from that point on, because they really blew up. And it was the same thing. It was like they had a VHS tape of them like spraying Aquanet all over this guy sleeping back, and they lit it on fire when he was asleep, and then they were like throwing up. It was like Jackass. It was the greatest fucking demo video I have ever gotten to this day. And I'm like, I have to work with this band. They were called Big Blue Monkey, and I helped kind of convince them to change the name, and I had got them a manager, and I did all the shit. And it was like to watch these artists come from nothing and blow up into these, into the stratosphere. There's nothing more rewarding for me than to witness that. Yeah. And that's all. It was me just trying to be of service and help. And I guess along the way, it helped me as a producer. It helped me, grow as an A&R guy and learn the business of major labels and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But, when I was a kid, that wasn't my dream to be. I don't even know an A&R gig was a gig. Yeah. I don't know if a producer was a gig. I just thought bands went in the studio and recorded themselves. I had no idea that like how this shit worked. And it's like throughout the years I've learned to be an engineer, because no one else could do it the way I wanted it in the beginning. And same with as a producer, I knew how to arrange a song because I'm a songwriter, and I knew how to record a vocalist because I'm a singer. Yeah. So it just kind of like along the way, it just made sense that I would kind of do this, because I had a platform to take bands out and to open for my band, who was bigger than these little baby bands. And I don't know, it just kind of happened naturally, to be honest.
That's so sick. And now, did the A&Ring and the producing kind of come hand in hand at first?
Yeah, every band that I signed, I'd produce.
Sick.
And it just made sense, because I would be able to take them on the road, and we'd be able to write together and kind of create whatever the sound was together. And but ultimately, the artist is always, it's their vision. They're the one that are steering the ship. Yeah. It's me to kind of like paddle alongside of them. And if they, go off course, if they want to make, a pop punk song, and all of a sudden it's like there's like 8 time signatures and they're making this, kind of like tech metal. I'm like, bro, I think we're off course a little bit to kind of get them back on course, and a lot of times bands have to figure it out on their own. Like, I mean, I love Story of the Year, but they didn't want to use me on the second record, which is fine. It's just that they kind of like steered off course a little bit, and I think that they're back on course now. But every band has to figure it out on their own. Yeah, it's not anyone's job to be their parent or kind of say this is what you have to do. And a lot of times you watch bands make bad decisions, and you go, this isn't what's going to be best for you. But all you can do is state your share your peace of mind, and then move on and let them discover it on their own.
How did these avenues help Goldfinger, and what did the course of Goldfinger become after you started with A&Ring and producing on such a successful level?
Well, I think it really started on our third album, and we had like with 99 Red Balloons, we had a #1 song in Germany, and we had all this success overseas, but it's like we never... Goldfinger never became Green Day. I mean, we were doing like, 3,000 cap rooms and, kind of like big theaters, but we never became a fucking stadium band, which is fine. But, I made a decision to really, when I had Julian, my first kid, it was like I really said, I'm going to focus on producing records. I'm going to really try. I mean, I would corner Jerry Finn at parties and be like, what bus compressor do you use as a mastering plugin? Like, what do you, like, I would corner him, and we'd be at some party and he'd be like, bro, what are we doing? Cause I like worshiped him and worshiped the records he made. And I just wanted to figure out like how he got the sounds and what guitars he used. And when I was making a covers record at the Village, we were doing this Buzzcock song, You Say You Don't Love Me. And he actually loaned me his Les Paul. And I was so grateful. Like he was in the next studio working on an Alkaline trio record, loaned me his guitar, and he's just the sweetest guy. And I feel like by his mentorship to me, I was able to do that for a lot of younger engineers, which have now gone off to be their own producers and doing their own thing. You know, I was able to kind of like say, this is kind of how you do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Have you ever gone to Jerry's house and been in his mixing room before? Dude, it was the most surreal experience of my life.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should say who owns the house now, but it's a very, very, very established musician. I'll talk to you off air. And it was the first time I felt like a cool paranormal, like, oh shit, there's a great presence in this room right now. It was really cool.
Yeah, he was such a mellow guy, and I'm not.
Yeah, you're the most mellow person I know.
I'm not that way, and it's like we all figure out our own. Lane, and the thing is, I have to be true to myself.
Yeah.
If I try and like say we're gonna try and write a Noah Kahn song, it's like, and try and whatever's happening right this second, I try and rip off whatever the moment is, role model or whoever's happening right this second. It never works.
No,
I got to be true to who I am and what I do. And look, I do what I do really, really well, but it's like, I can do anything, I can make any kind of music, but I really make pop rock music, it's what I do, like guitars, live drums, and that's just what I do.
I mean, everyone on idobi Radio listening to the show is very familiar with Story of the Year. I just had them on a couple months ago now, a couple weeks, couple months, either way in the past, but this year. But you could do songs like Story of the Year with the brutal screaming like The Used, get out such a brutal, raw scream from Bert.
Yeah.
But then you could produce Ashley Simpson songs too.
Yeah. I actually saw Hillary Duff just released an album, and I was just like thinking about my work with her, Ashley Simpson, Ashley Tisdale, and like these pop artists I worked with in the early 2000s. And it was but it was like, it wasn't that different. It was still guitars and drums, and you still have a chorus, like a sing-alongable chorus, and working with Avril's been amazing because she's such an amazing songwriter herself. And she's just like, she has a vision for what she wants the song to be. And, I'll add a little, sprinkles of production, and she'll be like, take that out. Maybe we can try some other shit here. And she's a real visionary. Yeah. And that's who I work great with, when someone has a vision for what their song is, But, and again, I guess you're right. I was nominated for a Grammy with Skrillex this year with Voltage. So,
oh, were you?
Yeah.
Oh, holy shit! Congrats! Second Grammy nomination.
Third.
Hell yeah!
But one of these days it's gonna fucking go all the way. But nominations are cool, but a win would be better. And so it's like, working with Sonny when after he left from First to Last, he started this band Sonny and the Blood Monkeys, and it was like he was doing this project. And he lived in Sweden. I think he'd studied under Swedish House Mafia, and he kind of learned Ableton and learned how to do what kind of became a dubstep when he blew up, with his first album. And it's like, we did a bunch of songs with him singing. And so he decided to release one of those songs last year, which got nominated for a Grammy. The song Voltage we did 12 years ago, and it just got nominated. It's crazy how that shit can work.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's wild.
So now we talked about a lot of you developing artists and everything. Let's talk about you coming into recording Blink on California and their first Grammy nomination for a record.
Yeah.
So now, obviously, you go in with a band that's a younger band. They look up to Goldfinger. They look up to you. It's a lot easier to convey what you're thinking to them and why you think you should do it. You go in with Blink. They have sold out arenas across the world at this point. They have maybe 2 diamond records at that point. How do you try to tell them what to do in the studio and support them as a producer?
Yeah. Blink was a really amazing experience for me because, Travis used to open for Goldfinger when he was in the Aquabats. He'd ride on our tour bus. So I've known Travis since he was a little kid, and at the barn in Riverside, he used to be in his Aquabats outfit, handing out Aquabats flyers as he was crowd surfing at Goldfinger shows. So I've known Travis forever. And, Blink opened for Goldfinger a couple times. We did the Snowcore tour, which they opened for us. And then we did the show at Troubadour, which they opened for us. So it's like I'd known the guys, but, I had discovered 5 Seconds of Summer randomly. A friend of mine just said, there's this young, band of 17-year-old kids from Australia. And I was in London at the same time they were rehearsing, and I just went down and met them, and we just clicked immediately. And then I had such a successful record with their first album that went, multi-platinum. Yeah. And it was like, so to be honest, I don't know the whole story, but my guess is Travis's kids were really young at the time. I think they were fans of 5 Seconds of Summer, and they put them on his radar. So by the time they were like going up with a bunch of producers, Travis called me up and said, "Can you meet us at Crossroads, his restaurant?" And I didn't know. He's like, well, he said, "Can you meet me?" I'm like, "Sure, let's go get lunch or whatever." And I go there, and the whole restaurant's closed, and it was Mark Hobbs, Matt Skiba, and him, just the three of them and me. And they're like, "Dude, we're gonna make a record." And I said, "Let's go to my studio right fucking now." And they just came to the studio, and Mark and I just hung out, connected. He's probably tied with Mike Herrera for the nicest guy I've ever met in the music business. And Hoppus and I wrote Bored to Death.
Oh, no way.
We wrote Bored to Death that first day together, and it was just like, it was just him and I in the studio. We wrote the song. Travis came in and he was like, "Holy shit." And he's like, "I got these ideas." And so I had these arrangement ideas and all these drum ideas, and came in and just fucking blasted out the drums. And Skiba came in and came up with that guitar part, the do-do-do-do. He came up with that little intro, wrote that guitar intro. And it was like, it just kind of came together in one day, that song.
That's
it just
so
all
sick.
kind of like, it kind of wrote itself, and we were all like, this is what should define what this record is. And so it just kind of happened. It wasn't like I wasn't hustling to get a gig. It wasn't like I was competing against 10 other producers. Who's going to write the best song, which never really works out great. When you're making like a rock album, like you want to have a coherency to it that like you want to listen to start to finish and have it sound, like an album. And that's what I did with them. And I made an album of like what I think are bangers. And it was like, and the challenge really was, you had Lennon and McCartney, right, with Tom and Mark, that had written all these amazing songs, since the early 90s. And it's like, you lose one of them, and it's like, I kind of had to come in with Matt and kind of replace one of the key songwriters. Mm-hmm. And it was, it wasn't easy because they had this legacy that we had to continue. Jerry Finn wasn't in the picture, God rest his soul. And it was like, so we had a big, but I'm so proud of that. I mean, it's a multi-platinum album, got nominated for a Grammy. I'm so proud of the work we did on that record together. And it really helped me redefine myself as a producer as well. Yeah. It changed everything for me.
It's so sick. And I mean, not only that, they had that record come out, and then I saw them play like sold out Barclays Center. I saw them play a sold out Forum. Yeah. So the selling out didn't stop for ticket sales. Yeah. And then you were a part of Nine also, right?
Yeah, I did probably half of Nine. They work with a ton of producers on that record. I think they wanted to, just try a bunch of different people, which is, I mean, any artist should be able to do whatever the fuck they want. Yeah. And it's like they work with a lot of people on that record. But I mean, Dark Side is top 5 favorite Blink songs of all time, and that's on Nine. And I fucking love that song. And Skiba and I were in my kitchen, and we just like have this, we're talking about relationships and how dark it can get. So we just came up with this Dark Side. I got a Darth Vader tattoo that says Dark Side on it.
Oh, that's so sick.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it just ties into my love for Star Wars and our both love of challenging relationships.
That's so cool. And now the last question I'm going to ask on Blink and recording Nine. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys had a handful of co-writers come in for Nine too, right?
Yeah.
Like JP Clark was one of them. Yeah. Lil Aaron, obviously one of them too. So how was it bringing in these young up and coming songwriters to a legacy band where you're trying to figure it out? You're like, okay, cool. Blink's been a band for 20 plus years. They're coming off their first Grammy nominated record.
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring in a bunch of young songwriters for the first time. So how did that all come together?
Well, I think it was a combination of the band really wanted to be, pushed out of their comfort zone. I think they really wanted to have outside, kind of outside taste and flavor in with their music. And, and it was an experiment that, I think that they really enjoyed. I think they loved working with, like I said, I'm 58 and having these young early 20s guys come in and just kind of have their perspective on what modern music was and kind of like how to write because I'm really good with like melody structure and music, but the lyrics are the hardest thing for me. And it's like having a bunch of great lyricists was super helpful. And I thought it was amazing. But I mean, Travis really ran the ship on Nine. I mean, it was really like he would come in and start with a drum groove. And then he'd say, let's write a song around this groove. And so he was really the sole writer. Like he had a vision for that record.
Yeah.
And a lot of the songs you can tell are just like driven by these incredible, like there's one song that has a big drum solo in it. It's crazy, you know, and I love it.
That's so cool. And it's so sick to see. I mean, it was so sick to see a picture of back of your head from like PZ's account or Aaron's account while that was all going on.
Yeah.
And then I finally got the picture of the back of your head in the studio. I got to come to the studio for the first time while you were working a couple of months ago.
Yeah, with Sully, yeah?
Yeah. No, with Knox.
With Knox, that's right.
Yeah, so, dude, I just want to say, one, thank you so much for making my kid dream come true by watching you work in the studio. Two, also being invited to your house was so sick. Three, dude, it was the first time I ever saw you, John Feldmann, the producer, in action. I thought you were just fucking off on your phone while the song was playing.
Yeah.
You came back with like 15 different notes on such meticulous things that like I hadn't even heard of some of the things you were talking about. So talk about just listening to a song one time and having those critiques, because literally watching you work in real time was the most surreal thing I think I've seen in a long time.
Well, every artist is driving the ship, like I said, and Knox was an interesting. I'd never worked with him. I met him the same day that you came in that day, and he's so talented, man, and he's an artist that the genesis of the song needs to come from him, which I didn't know. I'd never met the guy, and so I came in. I had a bunch of ideas, but he's like, I've got this this vision for the song, and he kind of came in and just had a chorus already written, and so I think it was Joe Kirkland was there as well, who's an incredible lyricist.
One of the best.
Yeah, he's so good, and so I was really there to kind of manage the song rather than be like a true like writer. Like I wasn't sitting there going, change these chords, but I'm like, these lyrics need to be, I was kind of rearranging words that were there, and I was really kind of helping, with the bridge and how do we get from the pre-chorus to the verse, and back to the chorus. I was really kind of there as a producer, more than a writer with Knox, because it was his vision, and I tried to interject ideas. I was definitely there, trying to offer my best opinions as a writer, but Knox was like, nah, that's cool. What if we tried this? And it was cool. And every artist is different, man. Some artists want me to write the whole thing. Other artists don't want me to write it all. And it just depends on what the artist wants. And I'm hopefully there for all of it.
Yeah. And one thing that no one could ever mistake while listening to it is the Feldy production. Like those giant choruses that sound like you should be on a longboard just in the middle of the summer in California.
Yeah.
It's always so surreal to hear, even with new artists. Like I remember even like the State Champs record, like hearing that production, I'm like, man, this is that early 2000 production that just is so fucking good.
Yeah, what a great band. Yeah, what a great band. And
poor Derek took some strays at my roast last night.
I love it.
Poor guy.
Yeah. He's such a great singer. It's like him and Alex from All Time Low are cut from the same cloth. They're they have such a God-given gift to sing, both of them. And they just, remind me of each other, and I'm honored to have worked with both of them, but it is like, I do what I do, like you said. It's like there is something I do, and I'm a California kid.
Yeah,
I've lived here my whole life, and it's just like I grew up on the Descendants and Black Flag and Social Distortion, and it's like, and then there's that Anglophile in me that loves the British culture of punk rock, and it's like melding them together. Being able to work with 311 as well was such an honor. It's such a legendary band, and having Nick being open to collaborate with me was amazing, and like some people are more open to collaborate than others. And it's like, I've got to kind of stand my ground, but yet at the end of the day, they're going to win because they're the artists. I can say my piece, but they're going to win at the end.
Has there been a producer that you've worked with Goldfinger where you're just like, man, I fucking hate you and I'm never going to, you don't have to say who, or I'm never going to end up being a producer like said person is?
Yeah, I've worked with a couple producers that are just, overwhelming, and I know I can be overwhelming, and after working with some of these people, like coming in whatever, just their ball swinging and just like, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. I'm like, fuck, man, I just don't ever want to be that guy. But I can't think of his last name, Tim, who produced our third album, Stomping Ground. I've worked with Tim Pagnotta, who's legendary. He's such a good dude, and God, I'll think of his name. He's gonna kill me for this, dude. But
I'm gonna get a DM at 3 a.m. Like,
I know.
I'm on my 8th mile of my hike, and I just thought of this guy's name.
But anyway, yeah, it was cool to be able to take a back seat and have a producer kind of like deal with. I mean, because Charlie, our guitar player, is one of the best guitar players I've ever worked with. He's an incredible guitar player. And I make him hold back a lot because my songs are so simple a lot of the time. And, but he can be really challenging in the studio about, just tuning and perfectionistic. And sometimes it's like the imperfections is what makes the album great. And it's like so having another producer be able to deal with him is amazing. Yeah, that was amazing for me to take it back and deal with our drummer.
Have a little buffer.
Yeah, and have him do all that shit. I recorded all my own vocals, and that's my favorite sounding. That's my favorite sounding Goldfinger record. Is the one that he produced and mixed. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to go back and listen like comparatively and just compare the production.
Yeah,
that's so sick.
Yeah, it's rad. It's a rad album.
Hell yeah. You have been such an inspiration to so many people in the music industry, including myself, when it comes to like playing guitar or playing bass, trying to write a song. I won't say I'm a songwriter. I try to write songs here and there. But you've also done such an incredible job of being a mentor to so many people, whether they be like working for you, like a producer, an engineer. Like, I know you're very active with helping artists get sober and be there for them too. So talk about giving back and how important that part is to keep you being the awesome person that you are and being so successful in music by giving back so much.
Yeah. Well, look, I have to give it away to keep it. That's what they teach me. And it's the whole thing of like, if I'm not helping somebody along the way, there's no, like, what am I just going to hoard it all and just going to be mine, like fucking Gollum? It's like, I was having a rough day a while, like maybe a decade ago. I was just having a rough morning. Like some project didn't come through I was trying to get, and I think we were moving from, the hills into the valley, and they told me the valley's where dreams go to die. It's like I had to move to the fucking valley, and I'm like, I'm just gonna call some kid I know that's struggling, with sobriety, and I called him up and I said, yeah, you want to meet up for coffee? And he said, yeah, sure, whatever. And so we just met up in West Hollywood and got a coffee. And at the end of the conversation, we hung out for an hour. At the end of the conversation, he goes, man, I was on my way driving to the Coronado Bridge to jump, and you called me and told me you wanted to meet up. And I turned around and I came back to meet you. And it's like, you never know how your actions can affect it. And I was calling him to help me. Damn. And in the end, and he just got like, I think he just got 9 years of sobriety. Yeah, last month. So it's like, awesome. You never know like who's going through anything. Sometimes people just can't talk about it. And it's like, I try and like, I just try and like bring in meditation and breath work and cold plunging and all this shit to my artists to kind of help with mental health, because mental health is like, people don't want to talk about. When you're depressed, the last thing you want to do is talk about it or talk to anyone. Mm-hmm. You just want to fucking sit underneath your covers and just like suffer. And so I feel like talking about it is the first step. Getting out of it is talking about it and what struggles people have. And I try and, it's not a one-way street. I mean, I worked with this one rapper once. It was just, I was sitting there programming this 808 beat and like halfway through like my 10-minute session up there, like trying to get the song started, I turn around, the guy's sipping lean on my couch and he's fucking passed out. I'm like, bro, we can't work like this. And, a year later he called me, he says, man, I need help. And I got him into rehab and I helped him get sober. And it's like, I mean, that's got to be, if I'm not sober, I can't help anyone else get sober. And, my sponsor one time had me do this experiment when I was going through that rough period, when I was like, moving into the valley. He goes, I want you to go outside, raise your arms to the sun and say, I love my life. Right. He's like, I want you to do this. And I'm like, bro, I fucking hate my life right now, dude. My kid's sick. I'm having to move to the valley. My dad died. My dog died. All this shit happened within a week. And I'm like, I'm not going to do it. And my life got darker and darker and smaller and smaller. And then one day I just decided to do it. And I was interviewing this kid that was going to be an intern for me. And he showed up a half hour early. And I'm like, I was by myself. I'm like, I love my life. And I turn around. There's this kid showed up a half hour early. He's a 17-year-old kid. He's like, well, I love my life too. He didn't know what the fuck to say. And he didn't get the job. But it's like, dude, but he called me 9 months later, and he said, I didn't talk to him about sobriety or any the recovery or anything like that. He just said, hey man, I've been taking pills. I can't stop. I figured I'd call the guy that was praising the sun god, is what he said. I thought I was doing. I'm like, and he's been sober ever since. And it's like, and I did everything I could to help that kid. And it's like that little action. And that's the thing, is like, you can't think yourself into feeling better, because I can't fix my broken brain with my broken brain.
Yeah.
I've got to act my way out of it. And it's like, so I say I love my life, whether I hate my life or I'm homicidal or suicidal. I just fucking say it just to trick my brain into thinking maybe there's something different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because really it's all about action for me. Like if I'm doing something, I'm not thinking about myself. If I'm actually like in the studio writing a song or working with an artist, or if I'm helping my kids with whatever they need help with, surfing or whatever it is, I'm not thinking about me. And when I think about me, I'm like, pour me another drink. And it's like, dude, I'm not. And so it's just, for me, I've got to be helping kids. And, when it comes to people in the studio, like, I've had, like Matt Appleton's a great example of someone that, he was my engineer during the Panic of the Disco, during Vices and Virtues. He was my engineer for Foxy Shazam. He helped on Goldfinger's 4th album. I mean, he was just legendary guy. And when he played horns on all that shit, ripping engineer. But he said he wanted to go on tour. So I called up Aaron from Real Big Fish. I go, hey man, do you need a horn player? And he's like, a matter of fact, Scott's leaving the band. So I got him the gig in Real Big Fish, and he toured with them for the next 15 years.
That's crazy.
And it's like my job isn't to hold on to people. My job is to help them achieve their dreams, and I've worked with some incredible engineers that have gone on to be incredible producers. And it's like, all I can do is just say, I'm proud. I'm proud that I'm part of their journey on the way.
For sure. And now, were you always very super into spirituality and mental health, or just that instance really put you there?
Since I was a kid, I'd look up at the stars and say, holy shit, we're just a rock floating around in the middle of nowhere. And it's like, I've had this sense of awe and wonder on the universe. And so the universe has always been, kind of part of my higher power of my misunderstanding, the idea that there's something bigger out there because even, Einstein and Deepak Chopra talk about there's vast laws in the universe that, make no sense, that just is holding everything together. And that they all believe that there is a design, there is some kind of creator that created the universe, that created life. And if the smartest quantum physicists believe that there is a power greater than us, then how could I just say, no, it's all random nonsense and none of it makes any, that there's jellyfish and a bumblebee and a fucking swan, that it's all random nothingness. It just makes more logical sense to me that there's a rhyme and a reason to this. You know what I mean? And someone taught me there's the 23 grams that we lose when we die, whether we're a little baby or a massive, 7 foot tall basketball player. We all lose 23 grams, that there is a weight to the soul, and that there is something that probably goes on afterwards. And so I think about the idea of all the, suffering that happens, and how could there be a God if all this suffering happens? I'm like, I don't think that's not how the creator thinks. I think that there is a sense of purpose. And when I'm helping others, I feel a sense of purpose to my life. So to answer your question, helping others is what it's all about.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. Because I wanted to ask you if getting more spiritual, meditating, and having the I love my life mentality, I really thank you so much for posting those on Instagram all the time. Because there'll be mornings I'm hungover as shit after DJing and I have to get here. And I just see you shirtless, 100 degrees, screaming, I love my life. And I'm like, man, I know Feldy's a little bit older than me. I really got to get my shit together.
Yeah, bro.
But has it helped you kind of get into the artist's psyche when you start writing with them and stuff? Just being a little more spiritual and meditating with them and whatnot?
Yeah, there's always we do breath work sometimes. yeah, we'll do a breathwork session before a session. I did it with Swayco before we wrote Paralyzed together, which, ended up, it's probably his biggest song. And it's like we did this whole session, cleared our mind of everything and came in, and I had this concept and he loved it. And we just kind of went with it and just kind of wrote itself after we meditated. So I feel like me bringing that sense of whatever, that there is something, because when you write a song, it's like 1 second we're talking, we're just sitting in the studio talking about a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a parent or some life situation that the artist has had. And next thing you know, we've got a song, 6 hours later written. And it's like, where does that come from? And it's like Deepak Chopra says that our thoughts are not stored in our head, that these are transmitters and receivers for our thoughts being stored somewhere else. And if that's the case, I want to be able to tap into that energy when it comes to creating music as much as I can. And if I'm fucking smoking weed or drinking, I'm disconnected from that. The chemicals are just in me and I'm not able to tap into that creative energy. And I'm not saying that like John Lennon didn't write great songs on LSD or that Bob Marley didn't write, but Bob Marley was smoking seeds and stems. It's a whole different kind of weed than exists today.
Well, you mean he wasn't smoking that 90% keef wrapped?
No, where he just caught it catatonic. It's like, it's not the same. And God knows how, I think Bob Marley's the greatest artist of all time that has ever existed. So, who am I to say that, you can't smoke weed before a session? But my life experience has shown when a person comes in and we're hanging out and we're talking, goes, hang on a second, I'm going to take a couple bong rips. They come back, they're a different person.
Yeah.
And it's not the same energy. It just isn't.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I love how much you've referenced John Lennon in this interview, because isn't that track 11 on your new record?
Dude. Yeah. I wrote that song with Brian Lee, who, wrote most of Post Malone's biggest hits.
Shout out to Brian Lee. Brian Lee's
legend. Legend, man. A legend. And, and he's, he comes from the pop punk world. And, we tried to do a band with JP Clark and him, the New Vaticans.
Yeah, I remember that.
We made a little EP and it wasn't meant to be. Brian. I took Brian on the road for 2 shows and he played one of them. He's like, this isn't for me. I'm going back to the studio.
That's hysterical.
It's so fucking funny. But he's a legend, and he came in with that concept of what were you like when you were high, kind of about me, like what was I like back before I got sober. And it was like we just kind of wrote this song together, and it's one of my favorite songs on the record, which is just it's not a typical Goldfinger song, where it's definitely not pop punk.
It's a standout track for sure.
Yeah, I love it.
Hell yeah. And also, we've mentioned him a couple times in the interview. We got to give a big shout out to JP Clark. I've known him since I'm 17 years old.
Oh, great.
Yeah. He was doing a hip-hop-ish pop project called JP and Jace back in the day.
Okay.
And first time I met him was outside the Vibe Lounge on Long Island. They were opening for the Click 5 in like 2009.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've just been the boy ever since.
He's such a good dude. And he was in a band called 7715 with a bunch of other legendary writers.
Oh, Dan was at my roast last night too.
Yeah. Dan's the best. And we did like 5 or 6 songs together. We wrote a song called White Claw, which is, now that we're talking about sobriety, we wrote a song called White Claw. It's fucking rad. I think they used it in something. I think White Claw actually used it in a commercial.
Yeah.
But it's like, you never know. And I met JP Clark and we became super tight homies, and I brought him into so many sessions, but he lives in Nashville now, so it's harder to get him.
And he's putting out music. I'm seeing him teasing stuff. So JP, call me. You still have my number, buddy. I could just text him back too, or text him.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Hell yeah. Well, John, thank you so much for taking time to be on the show, make your way over here. It's been an honor to actually get to talk to you on record about everything. And I feel like if I hit every single point about you, we'd be here for 6 hours.
Yes, we would.
Yeah. So I hope I did justice for everything you've done.
You really did.
Oh, we haven't mentioned Big Noise just yet.
Okay.
So Big Noise Records, like we talked about producing records, A&Ring records.
Yeah.
Then you're like, oh, cool. Now I need a record label.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I worked with, Guy Oseary at Maverick was my first, like we talked about earlier. And then I worked with Tom Wally at Warner Brothers, which was like one of the greatest experiences of my life, with Craig Aronson, who signed My Chemical Romance along with Bert. And, we signed the Used together. And then I went to Red Bull Records, where I signed Beartooth. And then I went to BMG, who is where I met John Cohen, who signed the 1975, and we became, best friends, me and John. And at one point we just had a conversation, why don't we just start something on our own? So me, John, and Nick Rose started Big Noise together, and we just, we signed Mod Sun, which was an incredible journey. We signed, The Used, and we signed Escape the Fate. We signed Ashley Tisdale. We signed, a bunch of amazing artists on that label, and we signed Avril for Young and Dumb, which was so fun. And it was just, I needed to do something that was mine. I needed to have something that was mine because I was always working for someone else.
Yeah.
In the end, I had to go through a bunch of I had to go through Craig Aronson to get to Tom Wally to sign an artist. And it was like, I wanted to do something where I could sign whoever I wanted to, and that's what we did, and we started this journey, and we've got a huge, huge catalog now. And it's been an amazing learning experience.
Yeah.
Because John ultimately is the CEO. I'm head of A&R, and, Nick's the president, and we just kind of do everything together. We're like a three-way. All three of us kind of have to vote together, but it feels very democratic, and it's awesome.
Hell yeah. Well, what you guys are doing is awesome, and I love going to Noise Nest any chance I get.
It's the best studio other than mine.
I will say yours is pretty damn cool to drive to and
so
sit in.
Being up the hills is so cool, and Calaba sauce.
Oh, so sick. We have to have a talk off camera about Mexican food spots, because I heard some news about a place near you that's opening up soon.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll tell
Let's
you.
Talk.
Yeah, right after I do this outro, I'll tell you all about it. John, thank you so much for coming by the show. It's been an honor. You've done so much for the scene. You've done so much for me personally and shaping my music taste. You've shaped idobi's taste, Warped Tour, so many different scenes. What song do you want me to play? I want to play a Goldfinger song to end this. What Goldfinger song do you want me to play?
Let's play 99 Red Balloons, because we talked about it, and Tim Palmer fucking produced it. Legend.
Hell yeah. Here is 99 Red Balloons by Goldfinger here on Gone Fishkin.